Today we're going to be talking about Pantone Color of the Year, and I wanted to just talk about a couple of things before we get into the meat of today's topic, as well as tell a fun little internet story I heard. The world is a shit show, so I like sharing these sort of like more heartwarming stories when I come across them on the internet. And so today I want to tell you about this story. It's a true story that I heard about. Um, who remembers Ricky Lake from back in the day? She had her own talk show. She was an actress, did a bunch of movies like in the 90s, early 2000s. I don't really remember when she sort of stopped being so active in the entertainment industry. But anyway, if you're about my age, you grew up with Ricky Lake. And one day I'm on threads and somebody was like, just a random regular person was like, does anybody know how to get a hold of Ricky Lake? I have a bunch of photos of hers. And there was a picture of these photos. And yeah, sure enough, it was Ricky Lake with a child back when Ricky Lake was a younger adult. Like she's grown, she has a baby, and these are these photos. And so, because of the power of the internet, they somehow managed to get a hold of Ricky Lake. Like, are these your photos? So long story short, this woman, this regular person was at a thrift shop, maybe something like that, and she's an artist and she likes looking for old photographs as inspiration for her art. And she had gone to a thrift store and saw this box of photos, and she bought the box of photos, and she was looking through them and she was kind of like, they look familiar. Who is this? And then she was going through all of them, and it was like all the same family. And she's just like, I know this person. And then it hits her that it's Ricky Lake. And so that's when she jumps online. And what had happened was Ricky Lake had sent these photos of herself and her kid to this other person with a note in there saying, hey, these are photos of me and Milo. Enjoy. And what happened was this person passed away and all her stuff was boxed up in an estate sale. And the thrift shop owner acquired all these items and was selling them in her store. And that's how a box of Ricky Lake's old photos ended up in the store. Now, the beauty of this story is that Ricky Lake's house burned down in the fires in LA earlier this year. And sometimes it's hard for me to remember that those fires just happened earlier this year. It feels like it was so long ago, but it was really just earlier this year. And so, she lost a lot of things in the fire. So to get these old photos of her and her kid just meant so much to her. And I was like, what a nice thing to have happen for this person. Like, just the internet is used for so many awful things that it's just so nice that the internet was used for this one really nice thing so that this person could get these baby photos of her kid that she lost in the fire. So that's your heartwarming internet story of the day. Okay. Sound check now that we've got some people here. Hi, Gabrielle. Hi, Violet Femme. Hope you all saw the video I posted on Saturday. I It was late. It was a day late, but I did post my video on mending jeans. Love the makeup. Thank you. Um, I have a coffee date with someone later today. Her name is Lake and Carlton. If you watched my group uh runway review video where I was joined by some of my fashion friends to review the spring 26 shows, she was in that. She was one of the people that was on that video with me. And Lakin and I have been following each other on the internet for years. Like back when we were both on Twitter. I don't know if she's still on Twitter. But back when we were both on Twitter, I quit Twitter a long time ago. But and then now we follow each other on Threads and Instagram. And I followed her because I thought she was really smart and insightful, but we have never met in person. And we're gonna have coffee later today, so I'm pretty psyched about that. It's kinda sad because she's moving, at the end of the year, so, like, now that we're, like, in the same city and we finally get a chance to meet in person, she's actually moving away, but whatever, so, you know, anyway. So, listen, y'all, I wanna tell you a little bit about my Patreon and how it's structured right now because it is official. I will be taking 2026 off from the internet or most parts of the internet. I will not be functioning on YouTube or in social media as a content creator for the whole of 2026. I am going on sabbatical. Uh, my stores will continue to run if you need to buy digital downloads of templates and practice packs and tech packs and tech pack templates and whatnot. So you can always go to shop.zoehong.com. My books are still available for sale. I don't know what's going to happen with my sketchbook. I don't have that much inventory left anyway. Um, the only place really that I'm going to be on the internet is my Patreon for all of 2026. It is my favorite corner of my side of the internet and the one that doesn't stress me out because there's no algorithm involved with Patreon. Patreon just sends off my post to everybody's inbox unless that person has decided themselves that they do not want to receive email updates on my posts. And so it's just like a calm place for me. And it is a fun place where I can build community through various activities. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about my Patreon. I hope you will join me over there because that's really the only place you're going to be able to find me on the internet. So I have several tiers over there. First of all, you can join as a free member, and I post links I find helpful on the internet just like when I'm scrolling TikTok or reading about things on threads or when I see things in the news that I think would be helpful for people, I post these links for all my free members. And so and I don't know if I'm going to be adding any more content for the free members on my Patreon, but if you want to keep tabs on anything, because I'll probably be, if I have any major news announcements regarding my life or my channel or anything, I will likely put them up for my free membership over there. So if you want to keep tabs on me in 2026, you can join as a free member on Patreon. Okay. It's a little bit like signing up for a newsletter. You'll get the occasional post in your email. That's it. Okay. Um, my Energizers tier, my book club tier, we have a fashion book club. Right now, we are reading the Balenciaga biography by Mary Bloom. The official title is The Master of Us All, Balenciaga, His Workrooms, His World. We just finished chapter 2. We're in the middle of discussing chapter 2 in the chat discussion thread right now. My favorite part of chapter 2, so we're at World War II right now, so the early 40s, when Germany occupies France, occupies Paris, and kind of what is happening to the world of haute couture during World War II when the Germans have taken over Paris. And Mary Bloom makes no qualms sitting there listing which head of couture was a Nazi, was, you know, hanging out with Germans, not just check, check. She's just like, uh-huh. Y'all dead. What are you gonna do to me now? Okay. She just straight up is like, yeah, Coco Chanel was shacking up with a Nazi at the Ritz. That's right. Yeah. So that's chapter 2. And so we've been discussing that in the book club tier. on Patreon, which is super fun. And then in my meetups and archives tier, so I have these 2 tiers. One is a pattern making tier where I used to do pattern making classes. And then I have a design and illustration class tier where I used to have a bunch of fashion design and illustration classes in that tier. And I stopped doing new classes on Patreon earlier this year, but all the old classes are available. Okay. So all the old classes are available and you can access them at the meetups and archives tier. And the meetups and archives tier is just that. You have access to the monthly Zoom meetups and you have access to the archives of all the old lessons, pattern making, fashion design process, color theory for fashion, figure drawing, drawing clothes on bodies, how to draw flats. Like you have access to all those classes as well as the monthly meetups in the meetups and archives tier. And the way Patreon works is you will also be able to access book club from that tier. Okay. You don't have any new pattern making or design classes. The reason why I have those tiers still up is people still choose to support me at those tiers because they just want to give me money. And am I ever going to turn down money? No, that's absurd. Okay. Um, which is funny because I've had conversations where I could be making a lot more money. I just don't feel the need to be selling stuff to y'all every second of every day and doing every brand deal. Like I turn down so many brand deals because I don't believe in the brands. Um, I try to be as ethical about the way I do my business and the way I do my recommendations as much as possible. And not every content creator is like that. Whatever. I could be making a lot more money, but I don't because I'm like, your product sucks. I don't care. Anyway, so if people want to give me more money because they think that my design classes or my pattern making classes are valuable enough to continue to pay the full price, I'm not going to turn that down. I mean, the archives are there. And then the last tier is the mentee tier. And that tier, you have access to everything on my Patreon, including a once a month one on one Zoom with me, where we can talk about anything you want to talk about in terms of your fashion career, your business, your goals for school, your portfolio, anything fashion career oriented, we can talk about in those one-on-ones. So that's what's going on with me over on Patreon. I will continue to do book club. There's only like 7 or so chapters in this book. So we'll continue to do 1 chapter a week on book club and then we're going to move on to the next book. We choose books and movies based on polls. Like I throw a few options up and people vote. Oh yeah, I also have movie club, which is part of the meetups where every once a month I pick a couple of movies, people vote on their favorite movie and then we discuss the movies. And the movies are a mix of fashion documentaries and movies that have really cool costumes so that we can discuss the costumes. You know, discussing fashion and discussing costume design are really different in their goals. With costume design, the costumes can be things that aesthetically do not please you in any way, but they're good costumes if they are telling the story, helping tell the story, helping you understand the character. Like last month, we did Cruella, and the costumes that Emma Thompson's character was wearing, like, I didn't just like, just from a clothing perspective, I did not like those costumes very much at all. But they really informed her character and showed us what kind of person she was uh very very well, and she really how different she was. Like the costumes really separated her from the rest of the cast in terms of character, aesthetic, like her perspective, like all these things. So I didn't like the clothes, but I loved them as costumes. So those are some different things that we do. And then during the monthly meetups, you know, sometimes we just discuss red carpet stuff like the Met Gala or the Oscars. Sometimes we talk about Fashion Week. Sometimes or anytime you want, I answer questions. Like there's always a Q&A portion of the monthly meetups. And if you can't attend the meetups, I always post the recording the day after. So you can watch the playback, all that good stuff. So that's what's happening on my Patreon. And that's where you're going to be able to find me on the internet next year. Um, I did go to my doctor's appointments last week. I'm not actively dying, but I still really need a rest. So because there are a lot of reasons to need a rest. But yeah, it was so funny because today's my birthday, and I got an email from UCLA, which is the hospital system that I use here in LA. It just seems like it just seems very self-congratulatory. Like, congratulations on living to 46. We're so good at keeping you alive despite your sad, sad genes. Because honestly, every time I go to the doctor, I swear to God, it's like I remember. Okay, so one time I went to this was when I still lived in Oakland. One time I was talking to my PCP and we were going over this, that, and the other. We're having this really deep, intense conversation about my health and the history of my health and all this stuff and the efforts that I have put in to improve my health. And she just kind of looks at me and she goes, and she did not mean this rudely, okay? I want you to be clear that I really liked this PCP. I think she was a great doctor and she did good by me, and so I didn't read this as, like, mean, but we're having this conversation, and she looks at me and she goes, "Has it occurred to you maybe you just have really bad genes?" She's an Indian woman, so she had an Indian accent, which I'm not gonna do, but just lovely Indian woman, and at the time, she was, like, 17 months pregnant, so she's, like, about to pop any second. She's just like, "Has it occurred to you maybe you just have very, very bad genes?" I'm like, "Thanks." Which makes perfect sense because on Friday, I got diagnosed with a genetic heart condition. Oh, life is so fun, you guys. Life is so fun. So yeah, that's what's going on with me. That's what's going on in 2026. So I will not be making any new content on YouTube. If you see me on social media, I am there just as a regular human and not as a content creator. I will not be promoting anything. But if you want to support me, you could join my Patreon. You can buy my book. You could buy my design journal. You can write reviews for my book or design journal wherever on the internet you got them from. Hopefully, you think 5 stars and just watch my old videos. So, yeah, that is what is going on with me. So, welcome everyone. Welcome Eleazar, Mom's Bedtime Story. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, let's talk about Pantone Color of the Year because Pantone Color of the Year is such a joke. I'm not even kidding. It is such a joke, okay? So let's rewind a little bit and let's talk about what Pantone is and why fashion designers even care about Pantone. So color, just color, is a multi-billion dollar industry across the globe. And Pantone right now basically holds a monopoly for standardizing color systems for different industries that require any sort of color standardization. And my area of expertise is really, of course, fashion. And so I know how the fashion industry uses Pantone and the Pantone color system. However, I do know that other design industries use Pantone, like graphic designers, anybody who has to like create logo work, like all professional logos, they should have um, whatever colors they use. Like, look at the FedEx logo, it's orange and purple or purpley blue, indigo, whatever you want to call it. And they are precise colors. And anytime they use that orange and purple on stationery, on their trucks, on their own boxes. Anytime they use that, it has to be the same orange and the same purple. Okay. And so they use the Pantone color system, or I'm guessing they use the Pantone color system for their own specific colors. And so anytime, they're talking to their box printer about printing their boxes or painting their trucks, they're like, you have to match this Pantone color. And the same with fashion. Okay. Tiffany, the jewelry company, that unique turquoisey blue color, they have a very specific Pantone color. I think it's trademarked for Tiffany blue. When Pier Paolo Piccioli was over at Valentino, he had that Pier Paolo Piccioli pink, that really bright hot pink, and it became a specific Pantone color. I think Valentino red is also one. Don't quote me on that one. Hermes orange is one. Okay. Hermes didn't start off using orange. Speaking of World War II from before, Hermes used to use these beautiful cream and gold boxes for their packaging. And then they moved on to a more golden color. But then during wartime, the only packaging that was available was this orange cardboard. And so Hermes was forced to use this orange cardboard to continue their business during World War II. And then it just kind of became a signature. Like nobody else was using this color and really made them stand out. And so they continued to use this orange. And then eventually they picked like one standard orange to use as Hermes orange. And now it is a specific Pantone color that only they get to use. It's trademark. They can use it. Like no company can come along and be like, I want my t-shirts done in Hermes orange. No. Okay. So, when fashion designers, whether you are doing fast fashion or, Loro Piana level, like high end design, um, use Pantone colors to get the colors that they need. And so, when you're setting up your color story for the season, you're like, oh, I want a navy and I want a camel and I want a forest green and I want a white. Okay. All those things mean slightly different things to everybody who speak English. And then you have people all over the world who are part of your supply chain who don't speak English. So, the best way to do that is to have specific color chips, be like, this is my color story. And when I say forest green, I mean this and not hunter green. What's the difference between forest green and hunter green? Depends on the person you're asking, right? So, they have Pantone has standardized gajillions of colors, and they have a six-digit code attached to every single color. And so you pick the ones from their color book. They update them regularly, and you're supposed to get new ones all the time, but you don't really need to. They don't update them that much. Okay. Every single fashion office I've ever worked at always had old Pantone color books because nobody has the money or the inclination to buy updated ones every year. Okay. Get a grip. And so, the navy I want is 18-9472. Don't quote me. Those aren't real numbers. Okay. But you have these Pantone colors. And so the other person, whoever is picking threads, no one's dying to match threads, but they'll pick a thread that's closest to your navy. They'll dye your fabrics that navy. They will try to pick a lining that's as close to your navy as possible if you want a matching lining, all these things by using the color system. And that's why Pantone is so key to the fashion industry, so that the next time you get a jacket and it's gray and the lining is also gray and the zipper tape is also gray and it's a good gray that kind of blends in well with the gray from the outside, or your buttons are a good gray that matches your self fabric, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's because everybody is following along with the same Pantone chip. Okay. So that is why Pantone, and that's how Pantone makes money, is they sell these cards and people use the color system. Sometimes people order textile versions of the color chips. Okay. You may have seen this if you follow my friend Melissa Calamia, as she is starting her activewear brand, or she's launched. Like, I just got notification that the pieces that I order from her are en route to me right now. I'm super excited. And she did a video where she showed the textile chips. So once you pick your colors, maybe like Anytime you switch texture, the color's gonna change a little bit, or our perception of the color is gonna change a little bit. So sometimes people will go the extra step and order textile versions of the Pantone color chips from Pantone. So that's also how they make their money. All these things, right? And this is actually so I actually do want to partner with Pantone to do a color theory for fashion book because their color book offerings right now aren't great, but whatever. Anyway, so one of the things Pantone does is they do Pantone Color of the Year. And I'm assuming it's just like this big marketing thing because Pantone also offers color forecasting services. If you know anything about me, you know that for me, like trend forecasting of any kind, I kind of give it half a side eye. Not a full side eye like white people at H Mart. Okay. If you know, you know. But just I find trend forecasting of any kind, whether it's silhouette trends or color trends, they're a bit of a self fulfilling prophecy. It's like if you tell a bunch of designers that neons are coming back and that they should jump on this trend, then you're going to have a bunch of designers who do a bunch of neon the next season. And then lo and behold, neons are going to be a trend. It's just, that's just how that works. And so I'm very dubious about color trend services, but anyway, so Pantone also offers color trend services, trend forecasting services. I have never used those because I have always have had strong opinions about color, and I always kind of like keep a sort of in the air about colors coming out and in and color as a recession indicator, like all these things. So I don't really like people telling me how to design and what they think the trends are. Like I like having conversations with my peers about it, but I don't like someone sitting around and being like, it's gonna be yellow. It's like I just like yellow all the time, but it's not gonna be the trend. Whatever. Okay. So Pantone does a color of the year. Okay. Last year it was Mocha Mousse, which was this taupey brown color. And I would like those of you to tell me, listening to this, tell me if you felt like that taupey mocha mousse color was a prominent feature in the trends that you saw on the street this year. Did you feel like you saw a lot of that color on the runways, in packaging, packaging from stores that change their packaging everywhere, not like Hermes, who always sticks to orange? Did you think it was an important color? Or maybe not necessarily mocha mousse itself, but maybe like people using warm neutrals more than they had in previous seasons. Did y'all see anything like that? I'd love to know. Let me know in the comments. I particularly didn't really. I kind of forgot about it like after the initial announcement and conversation about it. Sun God says, I didn't really notice it or any variations that much. Yeah. So this year, or for 2026, the color of the year is called Cloud Dancer. Okay. That Pantone gave is Cloud Dancer. And it's basically off white. Okay. Alan says the most trendy color is chocolate brown and maroon. I don't know about that, but I do feel like maroony burgundy. I saw more maroony burgundy colors during the spring 26 shows than I did any sort of mocha mousse color. I'll give you that. Yeah. Um so Cloud Dancer is off white and it's like a gray off white, not a warm ivory sort of off white, but it's like a gray off white. And the internet is in an uproar over it. Okay. And I saw a lot of funny stuff on the internet, but my favorite my favorite comment was somebody said, "You just know some mother of the groom is gonna wear white to the wedding and say, 'I'm not wearing white, I'm wearing cloud dancer.'" It's so true. It's so true. Oh my god, I could not stop laughing because it is so true. It is so true. I'm in this subreddit, where people talk about wedding horror stories. It's so true. It's so true. Okay. Just yet another reason to elope. I eloped. Okay. And I just celebrated my 19th wedding anniversary. Okay. Alan says, not seen any taupey tones. Me neither. Marky D says, more so in home decor, not fashion so much. Okay, I'll take your word for it because I do not really keep tabs on home decor trends. And I just someone someone suggested that I am filming in a prison cell, and I don't blame them for thinking that. I think it's hilarious. But yeah, I don't really follow home decor trends very much. Uh, so yeah, I'll take your word for it. Hopeless and Fluffy, which is hilarious username. Burgundy trends every fall. Mocha was trending a couple of years ago. Okay. Gabrielle says the Mills mothers-in-law who wish they were their son's wife will be wildin'. I'll just be waiting for the stories on the interwebs. For real though. You know what it is? It's those women who call themselves boy moms, okay? It's not all mothers who have sons, okay? It's not. It's the women who call themselves boy moms. They're a special kind of mom, and they are the kind that emotionally cling to their sons because they do not get enough emotional feedback from their husbands. They take it out on their sons and then later on become the worst mothers in law. And to me, the worst are the ones where they have both boys and girls, sons and daughters, and they still call themselves boy moms. Yeah. It's I had a stepmom. So I have one younger sister and one younger brother. And my mother died when I was 13. And so my father did eventually remarry, and he remarried this woman who had two daughters. So she never had any sons. And if you know anything about Korean women and boys and how all of them want a son. And so she never had a son. And so when she met my brother, the way she spoiled him, we used to get into so many fights because I just wanted her to treat my siblings all the same and not just single out my brother and spoil him because he was just going to turn to a spoiled brat, obviously. But yeah, Korean moms are kind of all boy moms when they have a son. My God, it's disgusting. Anyway, anyway, where were we? Cloud dancer. People who saw taupe this year. I didn't really, and you know what? I wasn't really feeling that color this year either. This like taupey. And I wear neutral sometimes. I tend towards cool neutrals like navies and grays, but yeah, no. Alan says home decor seems focused on earthy vibe and colors. Gabrielle says, I see a lot of people on thread saying they prefer phthalo green. Jillian says this cloud dancer is such a non-color. So Gabrielle is talking about the platform threads that's replacing Twitter. I'm on threads. I might still continue posting on threads next year because it's just a place to just joke around. Like my most popular post on threads was that time I was talking about how women pee in rompers and one piece bathing suits. So it's just like whatever. But I saw it too, Gabrielle. A lot of people were talking about F this color of the year. My color of the year is green. And not everyone agreed on the same green, but they were pulling a very deep but still vibrant green, and a lot of them tinging a little bit more blue. Not quite peacock, not teal or anything, definitely green, but just like a slightly like cooler green. And a lot of phthalo greens, and everyone had their own Pantone chips of these like beautiful dark greens. I saw a couple of burgundy-ish tones, but really I saw a lot of people talking about dark green, and it was so funny because other people saw that too, and they're like, "I guess Threads has just we've just unilaterally decided that color of the year is actually phthalo green." And then there were a lot of people who were talking about how do you even pronounce PHTHALO, phthalo? Until finally somebody was like, watch that episode with Bob Ross using phthalo green and just pronounce it like Bob Ross." And it's like, you know what? That's a good one to follow. Did you know he's from Alaska? He's either from Alaska or he just lived there for a really long time. So, anyway. So, Cloud Dancer is off-white. It's really stupid. It's really super stupid, and the thing is the way, like, white supremacy taking over the White House, taking over the world, taking over with the whole ICE raids and everything, with the political climate being the way it is, the fact that Pantone chose this white color is really like it's the very nicest way I can say it is tone deaf. It's very tone deaf. And the name Cloud Dancer, okay, I saw a Native American post something about how they were completely side-eyeing the fact that a shade of white was called Cloud Dancer. Like, eh, okay. And then shit really hit the fan when the Pantone president made an announcement to defend the decision to choose Cloud Dancer as Pantone Color of the Year, and she's black. And a lot of black women were the reel I saw on Instagram and the posts I saw on Threads, like black women were like, I don't like this whole making a black women defend this white supremacy color of the year, BS. Like, what is this? What is this? And the thing is she says in her announcement that color of the year is meant to be a conversation starter. And so what I took from that was, oh, so you guys are all just acknowledging now that it's rage bait. Like you pick something that is going to get people talking, meaning the whole reason you're doing it is so we remember you exist and that you get internet engagement by talking S word about Pantone in these like cuz when somebody likes something, they won't even talk about it or but when somebody doesn't like something, they'll rage about it on the internet and bad publicity, good publicity, whatever, right? And so I'm like, okay, so the president of Pantone just basically admitted that they chose this color for rage bait. Cool, 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 cool. Where is my Pantone replacement? Where is my Pantone substitute? Because here's the thing about me is I just I mean, I don't currently use Pantone right now because I am not using anything that needs that kind of color standardization. I have not found a Pantone replacement for the fashion industry that I think functions in all the ways that Pantone does for fashion. But I feel like there is a gap in the market that is ready for someone. I think that there are some substitutions for Pantone for graphic designers and like printers. Uh, don't quote me on that, but people have been having these conversations about it. But this is what happens when you have a monopoly on anything. The same thing is happening with Adobe. Okay, Adobe has been pulling some of the stupidest stunts, the way they raise their prices, the way they're using AI, the way they're using the stuff we make on Adobe for AI, and the way they're not selling their software, but only selling subscriptions, which a lot of people do not like. Um, but there is no straight replacement, okay? There's Affinity. A lot of people like to use Affinity, but it's not exactly the same. And in the fashion industry, everything is standardized for Adobe Illustrator. So it's really hard for me to tell a bunch of fashion designers and people who are trying to get into the industry to be like, no, just go use Affinity. Like, maybe if you're just beginning and you're just starting to learn how to use vector-based drawing software, listen, do not do flats in Procreate, okay? Do not do flats in Procreate. I wish we could. I mean, technically you can, but that does not serve you, okay? Because Procreate is a raster format and you need a vector format to draw flats. Okay. And what is that? So, raster format is when you have it's for Photoshop. Photoshop is also raster format. It's basically like, let's say you scan in a photograph, and when you scan in the photograph, in the scanner, it'll say how many DPI, right? Dots per inch. So the higher the number, the more dots per inch. So the more details you're collecting in per inch of the photograph. And so when you have a high res scan, you can zoom in pretty close and still see a lot of detail. And if you have something that's like 72 DPI, it's going to be really blurry when you zoom it up, whatever. Okay. Because everything is dots per inch to create the image. Right. And so when you do something in a raster format, like even drawing a flat, once you start blowing it up, it starts getting blurry because it's all dots per inch. Okay. Now, when you have a vector format like Adobe Illustrator, you're drawing a series of lines. And the lines, the way the formatting works is you draw the line and you stick it to a specific size. And no matter how you blow it up, the line will stay crisp. You have to blow it up to like 100,000% before you start getting blurry. And nobody is blowing things up 100,000%, right? And so when you do flats, you have to make sure it remains crisp. You know why? Because you're going to draw a flat this big, and then you're going to want a bigger flat for your front page. And then you're going to blow up a pocket to like this big for your detail page. And so that the factory knows exactly how you've placed all of your top stitching, edge stitching, bar tacking, how wide your welts are, any sort of embroidery, you're going to place the art in there, all that stuff. Okay. You want to put all that stuff in there. And so you're going to blow up pockets, chest pockets, standard waist pockets, whatever. And so you need to be able to blow things up infinity amount, give or take. And that's why you need a vector program to draw your flats. If you draw your flats in Procreate, you are limited and things blow up and you're going to get blurry. Like you don't want any of that. Procreate is good cuz you're painting. It's hard to get like the nice soft effects and the texture differences and all that stuff using Illustrator. That's why it's good to learn both. But Procreate is for illustrations, like drawing fashion illustrations, doing hair textures, fabric textures, but not for flats. For most of us, uh, flats are the most important thing. Okay, whether you're a student, like I know when you're a student, like you get graded on your illustrations and everything, but in the working industry, flats are everything. So learn Adobe Illustrator. If you want to get started on the Affinity equivalent and transfer your skills to Illustrator when you can afford the Adobe subscription, so be it. But that's but the reason like Adobe has such a monopoly. I hope Affinity can expand and get bigger to be like a true competitor for Adobe, to put Adobe on their toes. Do I love Adobe and have been using their programs for years and years and years? Yes. Do I hate them because of the weird monster it's become now? Yes. It's like before, back when I was going to college, you could just buy like CS6 or Illustrator and just have the software. You had the CD for it. You could install it in your computer and you just had it. You didn't have to buy a subscription. And then you could also just buy the software that you wanted. Like I only ever use Illustrator and Photoshop. I don't even know how to use InDesign, and I don't use their film editing software either. And so I just yeah, and Acrobat comes with everything, you know what I mean? And so if they had like a package like that, especially for like fashion students, if they offered these sorts of packages so that it was didn't cost you 700 freaking dollars a year to just use 3 programs. Like for a while, I kind of wanted to learn Premiere just so I could justify spending that much money a year. 'Cause, I'm not a working designer, so it's not like I have to do flats all the time right now anyway. So, yeah. Companies like Pantone, companies like Adobe that have this monopoly on this creative service that so many industries need, where are the antitrust laws? Okay? I want Affinity to blow up. I want them to do bigger and better things so that they can really compete with Adobe. And Adobe will be like, "Oh, well, I guess we have to treat our customers like the humans that we value instead of just, suckers that are forced to buy our products because they have no other options." Because that's how they're treating us right now. That's how Adobe treats us right now. So, and Pantone is there too. They do these stupid stunts like, trot out black women on stage to perform, defending whiteness. Like, this is just like a lot of bad choices all around, and it's rage bait, and it's stupid. And the thing is, it's not even a real self-fulfilling prophecy. Like when it's a color that kind of translates to a makeup color, like Sephora will do some partnerships. Like before, when the colors were like magenta or something, they'll do like a Pantone color kind of magenta. Like Sephora has their own makeup line as well as their own store, that sort of thing. But I think people in general take Pantone color of the year less and less seriously every year, which this is the direction it should go. People should just stop taking Pantone color of the year seriously at all. I pay it less and less attention every year. I'm doing it now as like kind of an educational platform to teach you about Pantone and what's available, but don't pay any attention to color of the year. It means nothing. It means one company is tone deaf, wants to create rage bait, and has their heads up their asses so far up that all they care about is just getting a bunch of people angry on the internet. And I hate people who make content strictly to get people angry on the internet because we do not need more anger on the internet. Okay, this is the last thing we need is to get more negativity out in the world and just people putting out there are enough things that genuinely make me angry that are happening in the world. We do not need to manufacture it and put it out in the world. There's plenty of stuff. Like, did you hear about that guy who took his kids hiking and they all came back half dead because the dad just I'm a guess he tried to kill him because the way he was so negligent with his children, one was like half dead from dehydration. They're all freezing. Like, what is that? What is that? There's already so much crap going on in the world. We do not need to manufacture things that provoke rage. Okay? That's why I shared the Ricky Lake story, the heartwarming Ricky Lake story in the beginning of this live because when I see stories like that, I'm like, "Oh, okay, like one nice thing happened on the internet." Like and this random lady, famous or not, this random lady, I mean, she got them back because she was famous and her face was recognizable to this person, but yeah, just, like, to get her baby photos back, that's nice. That's freaking nice. Uh, and, when I piss people off on the internet, I do piss people off on the internet, and I provoke rage sometimes, but it's mostly because I point out things that are happening in the fashion industry that should not be happening. And it's not because I need so much engagement. I wish I had more engagement without having to be negative. But yeah, like the times I say things like, your plus size versions of your clothes should cost the same as the straight size versions of your clothes. Oh my God, to date, that is my most popular reel on Instagram. I don't get comments on it anymore, but it's still my most popular reel I've ever posted because people were so up in arms about how I think fat people should have access to the same price clothes as not fat people. I hate it here. Okay, I'm gonna read some comments. Okay. Hmm. Hopeless and Fluffy says Cloud Dancer is the latest phase of the quiet luxury rebrand. Home decor is focused on green, gold, beige. Unfortunately, I'd rather do green, gold than beige and beige and white. I like green. I think green is a nice way to add color. I wish I could still grow plants, but I've lost patience for them. I do agree about with Hopeless about Cloud Dancer as the latest phase of Quiet Luxury rebrand. They're always trying to. It's always about exclusivity and separating from the masses. Whatever. Sun God says definitely not checking the room temperature for sure. Uh, Jillian says, I'm not against color trademarks. I think it's good for their business, but eventually won't people run out of colors if everyone does it? Just seems like patent law is never fair. I don't think there are that many color trademarks. Like I think Coca-Cola has one, you know, but at the same time, a lot of people use like a very vibrant, fully saturated red. I think it's like I think there's still plenty of colors. I just do think that some colors are so recognizable, like Tiffany blue, that if you used it in your branding, the confusion would be there. It's not for everyone, but yeah, there are colors like Tiffany blue that are just so key to their branding. And it's not like Tiffany blue, like Tiffany ever uses any other color. Actually, Tiffany, they did an April Fool's joke one year where I think it was yellow. Like they put, that little pouch where they put jewelry in before they put it in their little cardboard box. They had made their whole packaging set, I think, in yellow. Okay. But they had done it in a different color and they posted it on Instagram as an April Fool's joke because it's just like they would never. They would never. And it was cute. But yeah. Mom's bedtime story says tone deaf, really. She says pay no mind when they're just playing us. Yeah, just use the service, but like I don't even want to give them attention on the internet. Like I didn't make a single post about it on Threads, except I almost did to laugh at the fact that everyone on Threads was like, nope, we're doing green. We're not doing whitey. There was this thread where they were renaming Cloud Dancer as Landlord White, the landlord special. You know, uh, I don't know if it's like special to anyway, where they just kind of paint all the walls white before you move in. Anyway, Jillian says, I wonder how many companies have tried for color trademark and didn't get it. I mean, how many companies really are so globally associated with a specific color though? Like they could not brand in a different color without everyone on the internet talking about it. There's not. a ton. I mean, there's logos, but the logo with, like, a specific color, like the way Tiffany is, I mean, I don't think there's a ton. I think people can try, but it's like until you have that kind of global impact with a color. Okay. Gabrielle says that's exactly my thoughts. I'd be more accepting if they named the color rage bait. It is rage bait. The worst. Jillian says, "Oh my god, yeah, I've had my work stolen from Adobe allegedly, I guess. Meanwhile, people in the industry make fun of me and trash talk me. People still sketching stealing my 5-minute sketches." Ah, wherever there's people, there will be stealing. Even before there was such thing as internet stealing. Let me tell you the lore at my fashion school. There was this person, and the rumor was that there was this woman who graduated 2 years ahead of us, and this student who was my year borrowed this person's portfolio to go on job interviews. And he did eventually get a job, and people were just like completely scandalized. Edith Head did the same thing. Edith Head actually went to my school, Otis, but I don't like to brag about it because what she did was she borrowed a bunch of her friends' sketches, her classmates' sketches, when she first went to go interview with Travis Banton. And that's how she got that job over there working for Travis Banton. And she really got ahead because she was able to mimic Travis Banton's sketching style because Travis Manton was a raging alcoholic and he would miss meetings and miss deadlines. And she would pick up his slack by copying his drawing style and turning things in his stead. And that's kind of how she worked the ranks. So, and the fact that she didn't, share her Oscars with Givenchy, even though he's really the one who won them, is also a freaking joke. So there are a lot of reasons why she is probably our most famous alum, but I don't care. Anyway, Eleazar says, "This is exactly what I hate so much about companies nowadays. I feel like I can't even turn a corner without someone somewhere trying to rage bait me." Yeah, it's all about engagement, engagement. There's no such thing as bad publicity. Let me tell you about bad publicity, okay? And where it doesn't work. This I also think this is a heartwarming story. Okay. So, how many of y'all are familiar with Sydney Sweeney? Okay. She's an actress. She is blonde, white, great, great tits. She was in Euphoria with Zendaya. And she's done a few movies. And she was the model behind the whole American Eagle jeans controversy, where she was talking about the way she looks is due to good genes. And it just really smacked of like a white supremacy ad, uh, because of the whole jeans and jeans sort of double entendre. And do I think that she meant to make an ad about white supremacy? I don't. I don't think she's smart enough to have caught that, really. However, when questioned about it, she was elusive, she was dismissive, she, I think, was trying to be mysterious. Um, there are some actors that we praise for not giving too many interviews, not talking too much, and just letting gossip wash over them. But it doesn't work for her. And she should have addressed the controversy head on by clearly stating that you know, she's not a white supremacist, but she didn't. She just gave a bunch of vague answers and gave these smug, smirky looks. And it was a really bad look for her. Now, she was giving all these interviews while she was on press tour for a couple of her movies. First of all, number one, the next season of Euphoria was coming out, and Zendaya publicly announced that she was not going to be going on press tour activities with Sydney Sweeney. Good for her. Good for her. Number two, and Zendaya would not. I seriously thought she would do this just because of the scandal. I think she was using it as an excuse because she had already had enough of her crap backstage on the Euphoria set. Okay, that's my uh that's kind of the gist I got. Okay. And then the two movies that Sydney Sweeney had put out flopped. They just like pancakes. They flopped like just I can't think of anything because nothing has flopped that hard ever in the history of flopping. Okay, like literally, I think I heard that her movie was like a record breaking low in the history of movies. So her movies came out, nobody watched them, and so now she's coming out with these statements, kind of reeling back what she was talking about and how she's trying to do damage control now, and it's like, "You know what? We saw you. We saw you for who you were, and you can reel it back with your little white supremacist fishing rod as much as you want, but we don't care. We already saw you for who you are. Okay? So put your cleavage away and go home. Good night." Like, you just exposed yourself and you were just never big enough to get away with it and get away with not doing interviews, evading questions, all that. You just were never big enough for that. So, bye. Jillian says, I need Illustrator, but I don't know if I'd ever trust their programs again. I know. I use Photoshop for all of my video thumbnails, but since I'm not making videos next year, it's like, I wonder if I can just take a pause from my Adobe subscription for 1 year. Oh, it renews in June. So half a year. Whatever. Anyway, Sun God, this has answered so many questions for me. Okay, good. Jillian, me too. I'm more keen on trying something new than giving Adobe another chance after what has happened. Gabrielle says, InDesign is what you wish Word was when you put a picture in your document. I've never put a picture in a document before. The only times I've ever done that is on a blogging platform like WordPress or Substack. Uh, so yeah. I actually, when I was first working on my book, when I was first approached by my publisher, I asked her like, "Do I have to learn InDesign so to format my own book pages?" She's like, "No, we have a book designer." I was like, "Yes," because I've tried to learn InDesign and it was not fun. So yeah. Jillian says everyone is cloud chasing for that alternative media top dog slot because the internet is the news source. It's like a soap opera, real world with a GoPro. For a while, I actually still have it somewhere. I When I was trying to like think of ways to record like studio activities as I'm making stuff, like the GoPro wouldn't really work because it's so high up and I'm kind of working here. And so I bought a chest mount. Okay. Talk about shit they don't make for women. There's a lot of conversation about how cars are not made for women, seatbelt positioning is not made for women, like all these things. But I promise you, these chest mounts for video cameras were not meant for anyone with titties. And I'm not even that busty, but like, dang, it was not a good time. I tried. It was not a good time. Okay. Alan says, love to hear your thoughts on Diara Findiclu. Probably spelt wrong. Oh, is that the fashion house where there was an expose on the owner treating people really crappy? Like I heard something about it, but I didn't read the whole thing, so I will reserve comment until I've actually learned about it. Fashion architect. Hello, Zoe. Hello, fashion architect. Hello, Ellen. Jillian. Wow, yeah, I've been wondering about her sketches and some truths about her. Yeah, I have not caught up with all of that. Gabrielle, Lamau, Sydney shall never know peace from netizens. Let me tell you something about netizens, okay? Americans could never, okay? You may think that American netizens are so mean. Y'all ain't never experienced Korean netizens, okay? The way they will run you out of town for some shit. It's super toxic, okay? I'm not proud of Korean netizens. Like, it is so toxic. And the thing is, the culture is very repressed because our Koreans, it's all about saving face, being polite in person, being respectful to your elders. Like, there are lots of power rankings depending on, your ranking at work, your age, like when you started somewhere, this whole system of junior, senior, like all these things. And so people have to conform to these very civil ways of behaving in public. So when these bitches get on the internet, they let loose. They are so toxic. Okay. And the most recent example is when that random white lady who's running for public office in Georgia called ICE on the Hyundai plant Koreans. The Koreans that went to the Hyundai plant in Georgia so that they could set up the plant so that that plant could hire up to 9,000 Americans after the Koreans went home. Like, the Koreans were there on a consultation basis. They were there to set up the factory, and then they were going to go home, and then the factory was supposed to hire like 8 to 9,000 Americans to actually do the work after the Koreans set things up, trained people, et cetera, et cetera. So the Koreans were there at the factory working on this project, and this white lady called ICE on them. 400 plus Koreans were arrested, plus some other people that were there. And the Korean government sent a plane to Atlanta, to Georgia, and was like, we're bringing you all home. And now South Korea is suing, I think, the United States government. I don't exactly know the specifics of that, but now South Korea is suing. And good for South Korea. Okay. Because let me tell you about South Koreans. They're petty and they love revenge. Now, when the story initially broke, just even while the Koreans were still in ICE detention centers before they were brought home, all this stuff, netizens went after this white lady so hard. If you look on the internet, you'll find Korean Americans or bilingual, Korean English bilingual people who have been translating what the Korean netizens have been saying about this white lady. It will leave you feeling just almost, not quite, almost feeling sorry for her the way they went after her. Did she deserve it? Yes. But yeah, it was insane, out of control, just bananas. Okay. And if Sydney Sweeney had pulled something as offensive in Korea and the Korean netizens got a hold of her, she'd never leave her house again. She would never leave her house again. Okay. She didn't have enough self esteem for it. Freddie says, I just signed up for Adobe Creative Cloud for a year at half price. I can't cancel for a year. Okay, look, you got half price. You got a deal. Okay, so you have it now. So just use it as much as possible and get your money's worth. So Jackie says, striking chest mounts off the list. Yeah, the angle is not right for us. Okay, basically, it shoots the underside of your the angle is just not right. Depending on exactly how chesty you are, they didn't test that on breasts. Maybe there's one that I have not seen where it was made specifically for women, but I did not see any. That chest mount, Freddie says that chest mount was probably meant to be used by police officers, which most are male. True. I don't think so because it's meant to mount a phone. About the cop situation, like it's mount like because I shoot everything on my phones, and so I bought ones that would specifically hold my phone. Um, But yeah, like, it was definitely made for dudes. The first time I ever went to a video content creator conference, it was such a sausage fest. I I already had 100,000 subscribers on my main channel, and I still was feeling really cowed because it was a complete sausage fest, and there were these guys with, like, comparing their huge ass cameras to each other, and then I kept alternating back and forth between, like, imposter syndrome and also, like, I got 100,000 subscribers from my phone, so you bitches could never, whatever. So, it was a very weird weekend. Uh Gabrielle says, "The way K-Nets treat their celebrities will never cease to shock me." You gotta stay off the internet in Korea. If you're trying to be famous, you gotta stay off the internet. That's why, Top doesn't do music anymore because he got caught with marijuana one time, and K-netizens were so horrible to him. Like, the culture in Korea is you can be a truly, like, functioning alcoholic, but if you have ever, like, been hotboxed in a car, like, not even put the marijuana to your mouth, uh, and you could still be, like, crucified online. It's crazy, and um, there's a singer, Park Bom from 2NE1. She has ADHD, and one time she was not able to make it to the US to get a refill on her ADHD medication, and she tried to get it mailed to her Korean address, and it caused a huge scandal because those ADHD medications are illegal in Korea. They think of them as drugs, and it was such a huge they're crazy about, like they're really virulent against drug usage over there. Who won the Vanguard Award? Mm. Jackie says, "Yeah, wanting to have a nice setup for sewing, drafting patterns, and I was hoping chestnut might be good for the sewing part." You know what I found useful was my iPad. Okay. I've done a couple of sewing videos filming on my iPad because I have like the camera is really good on the modern, like the more recent iterations of the iPad. And I have this stand, the folding kind where it's like a cover and then it folds into a stand so I can watch Vicky on this while I'm cooking and stuff. And then I set it up facing me on my sewing table with the camera aimed towards whatever, the needle part of the machine. So I do that instead of using the chest mount. So if you can find a tablet on like Facebook Marketplace or something like that, that might be an option for you. You could try it out on like an older tablet if you have one, see if that works out for you, and then maybe find one with better resolution. Um, you could try that. Eleazar, I remember the way they were talking about Bohm, and it was insane. She deserved better. She deserves better now. She's suing what's his face for $1 trillion, and you know what? Let her get her money because the what they did to her body and her face, pressuring her into that much plastic surgery. Have you ever seen pictures of Pak Bom without plastic surgery before she started doing 2NE1? She was pretty. Okay, I don't even know why she had her like initial rounds of plastic surgery. Is nuts. It's nuts. Jackie says, "I got multiple sizes of tablets." Yeah, try that with some sort of like folding stand setup. Um, like a lot of people, I know the stereotype of like the tourist mom, like trying to take pictures of Big Ben with an iPad are just like so funny. But the thing is YouTube content creators have been filming on their iPads forever. So YouTube used to have this space in LA called YouTube Space, and they had these studios where if you were a YouTube content creator with a functioning channel, you could come in, reserve space, reserve equipment, and film in one of their studio spaces whenever. You just had to book in it in advance, and it was all free. Okay. The whole thing was YouTube was trying to encourage people to be constantly making new content to post online. I don't think that space is there anymore, but I've been to that space many times, and they have these things that are like tripods specifically for iPads. They kind of look like my panel lights, the black one. That one is just an LED panel for lights, but they look like that where the frame is made specifically for iPads or tablets. And so you can rent those kinds of tripods and you just pop your iPad in there and film whatever. And I was working on a project for a different creator. We were doing this thing where we were inhaling helium and singing Christmas carols. He had a science edutainment sort of channel, and so we were all like sucking helium out of balloons and singing Christmas carols, and he filmed everything on his iPad. It was the first time I had seen it done kind of like, and the film, like the recording, like, came out really nice and everything. So yeah. Amy says, "Hi, Ms. Zoe. Having a PC versus iPad, which is better for fashion design, not just illustration?" I don't think it matters. As long as you have something where you could do something like Procreate or an equivalent program where you can draw. I don't know if you can do Illustrator on an iPad. I don't really work on an iPad. I film things and I watch Vicky. Um, so it's just really going to be a matter of what you can sync up with the rest of your equipment and whether you have the programs, whether you can run the programs to do your work. Okay. Okay. I have been talking for an hour and 15 minutes. So this is last call. I feel like a bartender, but last call for questions and comments before I log off for the day. I have a coffee date with Lakin. I'm very excited. So, Fashion Architect says, "Hey Zoe, comma, last call for questions." Okay. It's my first time on the live. I finally have the pictures for the suit for wedding. I will post it on Patreon. Fashion Architect, what's your Patreon name? I love how people follow me on different platforms, but then they don't have the same name, so I don't know who I'm talking to. Jillian, thanks for the show and chat. Merry Christmas, everyone. Merry Christmas. Freddie, would you do pattern making in Adobe Illustrator? I know a lot of people who do, so you could give it a shot. I mean, if you already know how to do Illustrator, um, I mean, I'm sure that could be a good option for you instead of like buying and learning a bunch of pattern making software. So, yeah. Happy upcoming holidays. Okay. I made my suit for the wedding. Oh, ayo. Yeah. Yeah. Post them on the regular discussion thread, not the book chat, the book club chat. But yeah, I want to see it. I want to see it. All right, my lovelies. I'm logging off. Next week, Tuesday live stream as usual. Susan, are you using a mic with your iPhone right now? Yes. You've asked me this before. I always use this mic for all of my Zoom calls, all of my live streams on my phone. I plug it into my phone, I plug it into my mic. This is a podcaster mic, and I really like the sound quality in the recordings. So, all right. Gallo, hola, I made it late. Have a good day. Girl, you're so late. All right, my lovelies. See you next Tuesday, regular live stream as usual, or come find me on Patreon, patreon.com/Zoe Hong. I will see you there. Have a great day, everyone. Bye.